Welcome to the Lumpkin Leadership Forum, a podcast dedicated to discussing issues that consider the future of Dahlonega-Lumpkin County. My name is Rob Nichols. I'm the Executive Director of the Dahlonega-Lumpkin County Chamber of Commerce. The goal of this podcast is to understand the decisions and issues in our incredible community. Today, I'm joined by Chairman Rhett Stringer, and we're going to hear his perspective on ways to lead our community towards smart, controlled growth while keeping the Dahlonega-Lumpkin County charm. Welcome, Rhett.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you having me.
It's good to have you here. So with your time on the Board of Commissioners, you have had firsthand experience witnessing the growth of Lumpkin County. As the new chairman of the Board of Commissioners, how will you apply your experience and respond to the growth each year?
Thank you, Rob. I think that having served for 11 years, I've gotten to see several things that we've got right and several things that we've also probably had to kind of wander our way through. I think that gives me a good perspective now as being a district commissioner of how to help lead and guide and help work with the other commissioners to help us kind of tweak on some of the things that we may not have exactly perfect. There are several things that I'm starting right here off the get-go. The first being we're forming a committee hopefully next week made up of a wide range of citizens to go back and review all of our land use ordinances. It's something we've done bits and pieces over the last several years, but I think it's time to take a total step back, look through every line, every page, and get a developer's perspective, a commissioner's perspective, staff perspective, and then some citizens, that are very fearful of what may be coming our way. So I think that'll be a game changer for us to just at least everybody know what's on the table with what we have, and we'll make some changes and make some tweaks.
That sounds like an excellent initiative. So with that, the 400 Gateway Corridor has been designated a specific location for industrial and commercial growth in Lumpkin County. How do you plan to work with the board to either continue or change the way that area is going to develop?
Overall, I think we're on the right track on that. We do have when we initially did the Gateway Corridor, we kind of traced our state roads. And I'm personally of the opinion now, and I think the board is in agreement with me, that I think we're going to try to scale that back some and focus more primarily just on the 400 Highway 60 area. Right now it goes out Long Branch, out 52 East, and a little ways down 60 towards Hall County. And I think we're probably going to try to scale that in, mainly because we don't have water and sewer out that way. So there's some allowances that are given in the Gateway Corridor that we don't really have the infrastructure for intentionally. And I think those things need to mirror themselves a little bit better. We've seen a couple things where the parcel's in the Gateway Corridor and it provides allowances for some things that I think the majority of people probably wouldn't care for in those areas. So there's small tweaks, but some things that I think will happen there pretty soon. And then overall, I think it's a great thing to have in that area. There's a lot of rules and regulations in there to help provide for the aesthetic portion of it, where it's not just a hodgepodge of stuff just scattered up and down the sides of the road. And the sign thing is a part of it. I'm proud of. We did the sign regulation review several years ago. We don't have 100-foot tall signs in Lumpkin County, and I hope that's something that the board will continue to hold strong on.
Right. I know you've mentioned infrastructure before. That infrastructure really controls that growth down there, doesn't it, where it's at?
To me, that's the name of the game. I mean, a lot of we see it in all our neighboring counties. 10, 15 years ago, it was the build it and they will come. And now I think most of them are wishing they wouldn't have built it.
Yeah.
And we've kind of been strategic about that, intentionally we need some, but we don't want to be overrun. And I think we have a very, very delicate balance of that. And I think we're balancing it well at this point.
With the multiple property tax exemptions applying to many homes in our county and the recent legislation that will cap property taxes, how will you and the board ensure that the county has enough money to operate? Would it be incorporation of the new local homestead option sales tax or some other approach?
I'm glad you asked that. This is something I've personally been scared to death about. I've been obviously running the campaign the last several months, and all these guys running for statewide offices are campaigning on doing away with property taxes.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for someone that's not impacted by property taxes to campaign on giving them up. And it scared me as running for chair to be in charge of dealing with the aftermath of a decision that's made at the Capitol.
Right.
And I was actually texting our senator and our representative when I walked in here this morning about putting forth some local legislation for us to hopefully do the local homestead option sales tax. For Lumpkin County, it makes sense. A tourist-based college community, a penny sales tax, we would be to the good on a penny sales tax of doing away with homestead property tax on the county portion. So for Lumpkin County, it makes sense. The issue that the state is going to have to deal with is it doesn't work in every county. We're blessed to have tourism here and have others that participate in our sales tax programs to take the burden off the people that actually live here.
Right.
But that's I'm hoping that's the path forward. It makes sense for us. And again, it's a tough decision for the state to make, but from Lumpkin County's perspective, it's a no-brainer for us.
Right. Right. And that'll keep property taxes lower, right?
Correct. That will completely eliminate the county portion of property taxes on a homesteaded parcel.
Okay. And it would just be the Board of Education taxes then.
Correct.
Yep.
And you'd have a special tax district or city tax. The city, I spoke with the mayor yesterday, and the city, I believe, is going to follow suit. So you'd have a similar thing there. But a big part of this that I think is a good thing that some of the early on discussion was scaring me was if we shifted the homestead property tax onto commercial properties, Lumpkin County is already severely disadvantaged when it comes to commercial development. With Forsyth and Dawson and Hall neighboring us, we can't compete on these warehouse space type industrial buildings. So if that shift is what really scared me, but this is I think a no-brainer for Lumpkin County.
I know with numerous conversations with you when you were the District 3 Commissioner, you had a fantastic knowledge of the Water and Sewerage Authority and emergency services. And I know you've kind of talked to me about some issues, but what are some of those issues facing our community that people really don't know about that you want to fix?
I think a huge thing, and this may not even be where you want to go with this question, is I don't think average people have a clue what goes on behind the scenes every day in Lumpkin County. I mean, you mentioned emergency services. They ran just shy of 6,000 calls last year, up almost 10% from the year before. And I went out on a decomp call with a coroner a month or two ago, and average people have no idea what those guys deal with every single day.
Yeah.
And they show up and they do it and they don't get paid much for it. And it's one of those things you don't appreciate it until something like that happens to you. And I think that to me is almost the biggest thing, that with sheriff's office, road department guys, I mean, anybody you name it, the average person doesn't know what they do every day to make this place what it is. And I appreciate them and hope they all know that. But emergency service and stuff, I'm kind of a boots on the ground kind of guy. So the water and sewer stuff and any of the stuff out on the road is kind of right up my alley. So I've enjoyed my time. The chairman was nice enough years ago to let me serve in his seat on the water authority, and I plan to continue that since it's technically the chairman's seat. So that's, like we've talked about already, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. That's what makes or breaks a lot of this other stuff. And it's long-term stuff. The stuff we did 10 years ago is what's happening now. And I think that's part of what, I guess, the draw that keeps politicians wanting to stay in office is government moves so slow. You kind of want to hang around to see what you've been working on comes to fruition or not.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me echo you on that too. Like, I get to work around a lot of the county staff, and we're blessed with just some incredible people on the county staff.
No doubt.
They punch way above their weight.
No doubt.
We are blessed. So here's a question you have to think about. What's your overall vision for Lumpkin County in the next 10 years? You talked about 10 years ago is impacting us now. So what are you going to do now to impact us for the next 10 years?
I hope there's not a ton of change. I hope we're kind of holding a steady pattern now. I kind of hope to try to keep creating that atmosphere. I mean, nobody wants us to be overrun, but I want my kids, I have 3 kids. I want my kids to be able to live here and work here. So, I mean, you have to grow some. And I've said this 100 times, a community is like a church. If it's not growing a little bit, it's dying. So I hope to kind of hold the line. I mean, we're on a very level, steady line, and I hope to kind of hold that line. And, I think you're going to see some more commercial industrial stuff on 400, and you're going to see some residential kind of scattered around the county.
Right.
And I don't really know that that's a bad thing. I mean, we've got the comp plan update going on now, and it's kind of the same theme as it was 5 years ago. We want the stuff that other people have, but we want it in a small little area so the square can stay the way it is. These agricultural places. I mean, I live on a 6-7 generation family farm. I don't want anything to happen to that. But I like going to Home Depot and Publix and Tractor Supply. So, I mean, you got to kind of, it's a balance. I mean, it's all a balance. And I think so far we've done a good job of it, and I aim to continue that.
Great. All right, Rhett, now some tough rapid fire questions.
All right.
You got to have to pick your answer quick. So, Bear on the Square or Gold Rush?
Gold Rush.
Halloween scarecrows or Christmas lights?
Christmas lights.
Lighting in the square or 4th of July on the drill field?
4th of July.
Which is more fun, pickleball at Pine Tree Rec or just hiking the reservoir?
Probably hiking the reservoir.
Favorite waterfall, Cane Creek Falls or Amicalola Falls?
Amicalola.
Favorite hike, Blood Mountain or Preacher's Rock?
Preacher's Rock.
Would you rather be tubing or kayaking down the Chastity?
That's a tough one for me. I'm usually picking up trash or cutting trees. Neither.
I didn't think about that. That is a question close to home for you. All right, you need a snack on the square, fudge, or an ice cream cone?
Ice cream.
All right, what does Dahlonega, Lumpkin County mean to you?
Everything. My family's been here before Lumpkin County was a county. Have a couple businesses here. My kids are growing up here, going to school here. I've said it before. There's nothing that could happen that would ever make me leave Lumpkin County. So I hope to raise my kids where they think the same way.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Lumpkin Leadership Forum. Stay tuned for more episodes with local leaders in our community so that you can learn more about the smart strategies we are using to develop our community. Please like and subscribe.